Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of BIM Pure Live. Thank you so much for joining this special episode. And soon I'll be introducing the guests for this show. Before moving on, thanks to everyone in the chat, as usual. People watching from Argentina, from Brazil, from Ghana, from Cameroon. So hello to everybody. And we'll quickly move on to the sponsor of the week, which is Enscape. What are actually sponsoring the entire season of BIM Pure Live. So thank you so much for Enscape. And we have a special tip of the week series. And the feature of the day is placing assets in Enscape. So last week we've covered how to place Enscape assets directly in Revit, but you can actually place them directly in Enscape as well. But what is different is that when you place an asset in Enscape, they are also placed in Revit. So it's something to be mindful of, like to make sure to manage their visibility. So if you're placing them in Enscape, they're still in the Revit model. Something else is to create a forest. If you want to scatter multiple assets, like in this case, you can see we picked the multi-assets tool. We're picking a few shrubs and bushes. And when you're done, you can select the width. You can adjust the density, and you can draw a little rectangle shape like I will do in the grass over there. So you can see I'm drawing a little rectangle like this. And Enscape is placing trees. When you're ready, you can confirm the placement and apply the changes. And the assets are placed directly inside of this Enscape, but also inside of Revit. As you'll see, they're also placed in Revit. So once again, make sure to properly control the visibility of these assets. If you have too many of them, it might be a good idea to use a linked model. And you can also use this tool to create a crowd of people. So we're selecting humans, in this case, a bunch of humans. And as you can see, I'm placing them, scattering them around. And the same as before, you confirm the placement and you apply the changes. And you can see a bunch of people, although in this case, it seems that we have like clones. We didn't pick enough different humans, and they're like twins and triplets dressed the same. So make sure to pick enough different assets so the same person doesn't come up twice. So that's the feature of the day. Thank you so much, Enscape, for sponsoring this episode of BIM Pure Live. And this is the Revit Pure Pro template, which I'm using as a basis with all my clients whenever I'm working with someone that need a brand new template. I'm starting with this. The Pro template is a starting point, and then we're expanding to custom needs of each firm. So it's available at revitpure.com/pro template. The goal here is really to keep yourself organized. It has a nice, in my opinion, the best way to organize the project browser. Nice door schedules with colors in the headers and so on. View templates, a vast collection of view filters, everything ready if you want to do a renovation project. And I will actually do a giveaway at the general demand. People like when I do a giveaway. So let me just start this right now. So the giveaway has just started. So to enter the giveaway, make sure to subscribe to the channel first, and then you can type !" and raffle. Just like this. I think small r works. So !" raffle to enter the giveaway. And the winner can send an email to this email address to claim your copy of the Revit Pure Pro template. So type in !" raffle in the chat. Let me just take a little sip of water and then I'll introduce the guest. All right. So today's guest is Agustina Aboy. She's currently based in Montevideo in Uruguay. She graduated from the Universidad de la República in Uruguay in 2016, and she's been working with Slantis since 2018, first as an architect and BIM manager, now as a BIM strategist and AEC technology leader. So how are you doing, Agustina?
Hey everyone. I'll miss being in the chat today. It's exciting to be on this side too. I'm doing good.
Yeah, that's true. You're a regular of the chat. We always see you in previous show. You're asking good question.
I love these sessions.
Yeah, thanks. And all right, so you know what I usually ask. How did you get interested in BIM?
Um, so I've always been very techy and nerdy. Since I was a child, I always wanted to know how stuff worked. And when I graduated, I traveled for a while, and when I came back, it seemed like every company was asking for BIM, some BIM software, to get in. So I got into Revit. I really loved it. I understood there that I always thought in parametric terms. Like I love parametric stuff. Like I did that a lot with AutoCAD families, and like I never thought about it. But I fell in love with BIM and the possibilities behind it. So a couple of years later, I'm still doing it.
Yeah, and how did you get did you start working at Slantis? How is the origin story of you starting over there?
The origin story, well, it's been almost 5 years. It'll
Hmm.
be 5 years in a couple of days, which is crazy because I just got in, like I got in, like the interview, got in and knew not much about the girls. So Mercedes and the founders had this meeting with me, and like I think it was mutual that we were both really interested, and like I was really interested in what they were thinking of. The company was really small when I got in; it was just in the beginnings, and we were really growing. We're scaling up very fastly, so it's been an exciting ride. Seeing it grow and like getting BIM implemented here from Uruguay, then exported to the world. So it's fun.
Yeah, can you tell us what Slantis is for people
Yeah,
who don't know?
sure. For people who don't know what Slantis is, so Slantis is a company. Sometimes we say it's made from architects for architects. So it's you're making technology happen in the AEC world. So we export services, we do production of architecture sets and help our clients, which are architects, to get better in their technology and help them with their production.
Yeah, and for a bit of context, I had a live session with Mercedes, and back I've
Yeah.
just checked. It's episode 49, where she explained the philosophy behind Slantis. Pretty fascinating, I would say. Like
Yeah.
pretty unique in the market. You know, if um, yeah, colorful firm with a lot of energy, different from what we're typically seeing. So congrats to the entire team at Slantis. And
Yeah.
so just glancing at the giveaway. So 30 seconds and we'll get a winner. So before we show your presentation on screen, can you tell us
Sure.
what you want to talk about today and why you chose that topic?
Yeah. So you were saying like let's have a conversation about the future of BIM and kind of what that meant to me. Where I'm at right now is how are we doing BIM so we improve how's the workflows getting better, how are we getting better as an industry in AEC, through tech or through BIM. So that's why the Collab Loop, this title came along, on the loop of collaboration that gets the engines going and things getting better. So let's talk about that kind of workflow cycle.
Yeah, and I've got to say I've had some freedoms in the description of the session because I'm working with a lot of firms, and
Yeah.
what I realized that they're often a really good user in the team, but they're not sharing the wisdom properly, or they're
Yeah.
not really documenting that, or they might have old PDF files somewhere, but it's not up to date. And so I've
Yeah.
realized I've spent a lot of time trying to teach people how to do onboarding, how to document. I've been
Yes.
experimenting with Notion. I've been experimenting with Loom. I've been experimenting with other things as well. So I think you'll be touching on that today. But
Yeah.
very briefly, before moving on, let's pick the winner right now. Uh, so the winner is Eva Labadi Oliveira.
Ooh.
So congrats
Congrats.
to Eva. And let me show the screen once again. Where's that? Yeah, there you go. So Eva, congrats for winning the pro template. Just send an email to Nick at Revit Pure and tell me I'm Eva. I want the giveaway, and I'll give you after this live show your copy of the pro template. Thank you so much, and maybe we'll do another giveaway uh, sometimes in the coming weeks. So congrats. All right, so I'm moving back to you, Tina. And by the way, should we call you Tina or Agus? I'm saying you
Yeah,
use both. It depends on which language.
yeah, I use both.
Uh-huh.
Agustina got a bit difficult for English. So here usually in Uruguay, I'm go to with Agus, which is first half of my name. But
Mm-hmm.
when I go to any English speaking country, I usually you go by Tina. So
Uh-huh,
I'm
I
good
see.
with either way.
Okay. All right. I'll switch so we can see your screen. I'll let you go a little bit. I'll be keeping an eye, tracking the questions.
Sure. Cool. So like please interrupt me, have any questions you or in the chat might have. So the Collab Loop. Hi everyone. Let's talk a bit about the BIM cycles. First of all, like defining how would we call this when with the word loop, and I was trying to figure out what people thought of when they were seeing the word loop, which was funny. I got a couple of gifs on my social media, which are great. Thanks for everyone for sharing. The one of the coffee table really identifies me. I'm on the constant coffee cycle.
Fractal coffee.
Yeah. But maybe if you ask someone like your grandma, your mother, there was something about knitting, or
Mm-hmm.
if you're someone who is into coding or just learning, for them loop might be something like this. So like what I'm trying to represent of what I meant by this loop. So to me, and what we do as Slantis, a lot of getting better it's done through collaboration, but that collaboration needs to be on a constant loop of documenting that information, as we're saying. So learning from that collaborations, getting information out of it, and improving your workflows. So like it could look something like, let's say we started with gathering information. You have your info. Okay, can we improve our workflows? If the answer is no, okay, let's go back to more information. If my answer is yes, okay, go ahead, update. And then it needs to go back to the state where you go gather feedback or more information on it, or what can it get better now? So those kind of connectors between each milestone for us is collaboration. So we will go ahead and the discussion of what collaboration means for us, but how would I say we get it started if you're not already here? If you are, congrats. This is a very nice loop to have. But if you want to get started or discuss how we get started, I would say there's those three milestones: fostering the collaboration, harvesting information, and improving workflows. So I'll go a bit on each of this as we speak. So if I go right into collaboration, and what does that mean? So as I was saying, it's the connector between all the parts. I wouldn't be here if it wouldn't collaborate or speak. Like we met at the U with you, Nico, and like I'm like this live sessions you do. Like we get feel fun on networking and collaborating and hearing what other people are doing. So that kind of stuff, it's setting the right mood first. Within a company or with networking, on if you're working on your own, you need to be on a place where conversations are happening, where you're learning from other people. So this is like quick snips on the office. I took a picture because I found that, like, this is something we would naturally do at the office. Someone asks a question and you see a lot of people gathering around. Oh, hey, how can you get it done? How, like, trying to collaborate on something, which is great to see.
So I have my first
Yeah.
question. How different is it to work in person versus remote? Do you see a big difference? Do you see that working in person is a must or a
Yeah.
great asset?
Yeah. So it's funny because for us, I've been working in Slantis 5 years. So I started here in 2018 before COVID existed or was a word. So we were already doing Zooms or go to meetings or remote work. And COVID actually kind of validated us, like everyone can work from home and it's still valuable, but it's not the same. And I'm a big fan of being at the office. I think things flow easier when you are near people. It sets the mood, like here it's saying, like it sets a different mood than just knowing someone from across the screen. It's always nice to be nearby. So like, for example, I've worked with a lot of clients for these years, but the ones I'm most close to is the ones that I've been visiting for when I was there mostly in San Francisco, or when I did an on-site support, so I could travel to the office for a while and understand how they're working and how that goes, how a workflow will, like, understanding the loop is also understanding how someone is working like with others. So how are they collaborating with others? Like it's not just delivering like your Revit template. Okay, this is a template, like go use it. Hey, how are you using it? How are you taking profits of this? How is it going around? How you're onboarding people on this? So being at the office for me has a better, it's not impossible to do it remotely. We've done it. We do it. We actually have 2 offices, one here in Montevideo where I'm at right now, and one in Buenos Aires. And we do have a lot of what we call Slantis with our people are working around the world. And we do make it work. They're great teammates, but always when we have an opportunity to be nearby and get together, we love it. It's always easier for us. But
yeah, totally. And how did COVID affect you when I guess you were forced to work remotely for a while?
For us, it was kind of the same. Like, it's not the same because we're not working with our peers, but client-wise, and on our relationship with our clients was just the same. Like, we're doing the same just from home instead of the office. But we missed each other. So as soon as we got into the office, we got back in.
Sure. I'll let you go back to the presentation.
Sure. So we're talking about setting the mood. Here's a pic of the office. Having at it, then like we also have like these sessions like BIM storming. Hey, I'm having this BIM workflow. I'm not really sure if I'm doing things the best way, or have you done it any other way? So we had these BIM storming sessions on specific topics. I think this one wasn't like weird curtain wall mullions or stuff like that, which was fun. And then we also set the mood outside the company. Like this is a session we did in Uruguay. It's an open session, everyone like spreading the BIM, and everyone could come in. It was talking about how are you using Revit for your projects. So anyone who was an architect who knew something a bit of Revit could come in. We set up different tables and talk about it and how different aspects of it you could introduce it to your workflow or how you were doing it, and just like open roundtable discussions. So we are setting the mood in-house and out-house, like we are sharing. The culture here is about sharing. It's setting the right context for collaboration to happen. And we are also always saying, which is funny because I have my mug here, which says that exactly, which is 1 + 1 is bigger than 2, which refers to no one individual player is greater than 2 players working together. So we always say like the best idea wins, but best ideas mostly happen when we are collaborating with each other, because you take the best of both minds and merge them together. So it's even bigger than 2. It's just like exponentially big. So once you set up like the culture and everyone understands that, okay, this is how we flow, you need kind of set some means to it, like what's the media you're using to communicate. So this is my Slack in the office, and we do have channels for specific questions, like the tech management is for tech support. So if you have like someone asking for a Revit family, or hey, I have this workflow, I'm not really sure how to do them. It's also, this channel is also reporting from, I think Mercedes covered this one when she had a conversation with you, which is
this is discourse, not Discord. Discourse,
yeah, our internal forum for questions and workflows. Like it's a nice way to someone, hey, I'm doing this way, is there a better way, or has someone come across this problem before? And it's a quick way to have anyone like just a couple of enters away, anyone can see the question and we can reply, which is pretty cool. And also, like, instead of like trying to understand who's the better person at the office or who might know about this. It's just, hey, putting this out here, can somebody help? Like similar to what you would do in a forum for each program, but this is just in-house one.
And what is the difference with Slack? So Slack is more for conversation, and this is more for technical questions.
Usually, we have like chats for team group, like for teams on a project, and for specific teams doing different things. But like maybe you just came into the office. We are more than 70 people right now, so you don't know who knows about what or who to ask, or you're just new and you're not you know, like you don't know who to ask, or if you're not as acquainted to someone, and you know, like Tina knows a lot, but I don't know her. Well, this is a nice approach to anyone. Hey, does anyone know about this? And a couple of people might come around. Usually, if I see a question here, I will usually pop into someone's table if I have them around, try to get it solved, and then go back to the forum and say, hey, we did it. It was this way, or so. I usually like to walk through the office because it's a big office. So I walk around a bit and like, hey, how is everyone doing? Is everyone doing good? Can I help with something if I have the time? So that's also why I like being here at the office. So it's about collaboration. I think for me, it's about setting the right mood within the office and setting the right means. So having a place to communicate. So once that's clear for everyone, this is like the strategy. We want you to collaborate. There's no bigger players. It's just the greater ideas that win. We need to have that information placed somewhere. Like people just are flowing, creativeness is going around. How do you get that to work? So you need to gather that information. And we have like two main areas, I would say, in the office. So we do use Notion too. And there's like two ways that I would say we gather information. We harvest ideas, first of all. So this is the pool of ideas, any minor small project or ideas. Hey, I think we could do this workflow better. I would like for these to be tagged faster, or these dimensions should be done easier. I don't know. Different like small workflows that come to your mind when you're doing something that's kind of painful to you, but you don't know how to solve, and you just input it here, and someone might pick at it and I'll say, hey, I know how to make this better. And it could be something on software development, or it could be just like, hey, I know this adding which does this greatly. So it's setting yeah.
Can you explain what Notion is for people who maybe don't know what this tool is for? It can do a lot.
It can do a lot. It's a big place. So Notion is kind of a database. It's somewhere between a web page, a blog, and a database, I would say. But it allows you to create this kind of what you see here, like it's a database that is shown as a Kanban board, so like kind of the post-it Kanban. But you could also list it, or you can see it as a schedule. It shows configuration in different ways. And you can connect and link and tag people, which is really great. And we use it a lot for a lot of purposes. I will go on a further one. We also have so we have the Slantis Notion, and within it has these different pages with different information. So on this one, Slantis tools, we have you can go harvest ideas, but then you also need to, once you have those lessons learned, you need to document it somewhere. Where are people, like not only on the onboarding, but as you go and learn something new, there needs to be a place that consolidates all that information. So this documentation for us is in Notion right now. We used to call it like the Slantis tool. So every tool we're working with is documented here. You have guidelines, who to ask for something. Hey, I learned something new. Okay, post it there. So like, and we divided it from must-have. So this is what you need to know, and then complementary. We are like Figma. I'm using Figma right now for this presentation. We were commenting with Nico before. But Figma is not something we are using as a company, and we're just testing it. But as I learned something, I post it there. So if anyone else wants to try it, they can. But it's not something they must know. It is something like complementary to the job. So we are harvesting ideas, and we are documenting lessons learned.
This is all internal, right?
Yeah,
Notion and
it's all
Discourse, all
internal.
internal. Okay.
Yes, this is all internal, and we're setting up as we go, as we grow and we learn. We are getting this bigger, and the world's going from it. So I think the third part of it, you've collaborated, you've got a lot of information, you harvested ideas, like you harvested a lot of ideas. How do that come into play? At what point do those convert into something new, or do you improve your workflows? So like first is like getting the question asked, can I improve this workflow? And then you have a yes or no answer. How? But there's a framework to do this that we do for problem solving. We do this strategy where we go through these hard ideas and we say, okay, who's having this problem? What is it? What is happening? When is it disappearing? When and where? What's the pain point? At what time? When does it not? What is not a pain point? And then mostly, why are we doing this? Why would this improve? Why is this significant to the user? And like this will give you the yes or no answer. Is this important to update? Can we do it? And do we want to do it? And we will forward with this, or no, right now we don't have enough information to frame this. So let's go back to gathering information. So the answer is yes, you update your workflow. And like, I think on a bigger page, why we are updating our workflows is like, we want to be better as an industry, as in the AECtech industry. What that means to me to be better is to deliver consistency for projects, to power productivity, and to boost creativity. So those two to me are connected. So if someone is doing less boring tasks, he or she's probably more creative, or has like more time to think about what is better in architecture instead of just getting dimensioning stuff done. So at the end of it, I think the power of all this just enhance design quality. So I don't know what you think about this, but I think if you make architects or engineers or construction people's life easier on the work life, after like the end result would probably be on a better architecture, which
Yeah, because you can spend less time, reinventing the wheel on how to document and how to have this and that BIM workflow, and more time on the design or things that actually improve the design of a building.
Yeah, like I think none of us became architects or engineers for the purpose of creating documentation.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to improve architecture, do something great, something new.
Mm-hmm.
We afterwards realized you needed to document it to create
Yeah.
it, which is like, it's cool too, but like let the machines do the boring work, and we can like do the creative stuff.
Yeah, actually, I think I got into BIM because I was seeing some processes and it was driving me nuts how bad they were and how slow and how awful. I was like, this is terrible. We need to fix this and make it more efficient and better and more fun and more simple, so we can save time and focus more on the design.
Yeah, I always tell this short story to new people coming into Slantis, or like this younger people. I used to work in a construction company, and I remember at one job site, which was a building, residential building for like what was 400 units, and I had the job of counting toilet paper hangers and like the accessories at the bathrooms. And remember like printing and highlighting elements and counting and grouping and counting, and like, and I just see Revit now and I see, why did they make me do that?
Yeah,
Which like,
that's funny because I had Clifton Harness on the show, like a co-founder of TestFit, and it's all similar origin story, and that's why he created StarFit. Is he was manually counting parking stalls in AutoCAD and thinking, this is crazy. There's got to be a better way to do it. So a lot of these tech is like doing really boring work and saying there's got to be a better way to do it. So either it's just improving workflows or even creating new apps or scripts or whatever.
and there's a quote by Bill Gates. I think he said something like, I like hiring lazy people because they'll do the work, they find a way to do their work faster.
Yeah.
So, So I consider myself lazy, if that's what it meant. So yeah, by the end of it, we want to deliver a better AEC industry, enhance the science quality, and the people are doing it work life. So I'm sharing some of my successful loops at Slantis. So first case and the smallest one, I see like this is the first and smallest step we gave, which was creating a ribbon in Revit. This is like the very MVP, a couple buttons, like did annotation stuff, but we made sure to have this collaboration embedded in it, so it has each of the button has an explanation how it's doing. It's also, if you press F1, takes you to the Notion guideline of how it's working. And it also has this feedback button, which is, for me, the most important, which is if you have something new or something that's not working, something new to like you feature you want to add, or there's not something that's working for you, like you just press on it within Revit and it takes you to Notion, just you can report it and let's go through it as quickly as. So this is what me and Martin here in Slantis and some developers to help us are working on. Us like, this is what we see. Hey, there's a new message, there's something new that people want, or this is giving us an error. So it's keeping that, like, this is gathering information. Okay, can we improve it now? Yes or no, we'll need more information. We touch base with the person who made it, kind of keeping the loop within the tool itself.
Yeah, and I'm curious about that toolbar. Was that what code language you use? Is it all Python? Is it with pyRevit?
No,
or is it
this one
C#?
is C#.
Okay.
This is C#, yeah.
And who's programming in C# at your team? Is it you?
This one I did not. I dabble in C#. I'm just a newbie on it. I'm more of a Python right now, person. But this one we had help from developers, but we do have some people like Martin in-house playing with C# and doing new buttons for this ribbon. We call it the little helper. The purpose of this tool is to help the slanters make their work easier. This is like just the MVP, the first step we gave. Like our end goal here is like maybe create one per practice area. So we'll have one little helper for residential projects and one for commercial, because they do different type of annotations or stuff. So we can make it more pro and oriented to the user. That's one kind of our well thought, and maybe also share it with our clients. We are looking to how we can share this with some clients so they can use it too. And like kind of also on the collaboration end of it. This is like the Figma Jam board where we share with the developers that were helping us. So kudos to Julio and Jaime, if they're hearing me or on the chat. We talked about this earlier. So this is how we shared. Okay, we were thinking of these buttons. This is what I feel should be working. I also had some people on the team. Hey, you are doing a lot of this work. What is your feedback on this? What would you like to see happen? And kind of keep the loop going as we worked on it, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I like how almost all of your tools and process have a really cool name, like the pool that I saw, and the little helper. And don't you have a lot of these just catchy names for everything? Anyway, I like that. It makes it a little less boring, I think.
Yeah, we're all about having a good time. Like we are hard workers, but we like to have fun and make Slantis an enjoyable place to work. So yeah, this also comes from marketing. Like, think Little Helper, it's an old idea that came from Mercedes, this wording from like a couple of years ago. Mercedes and I have always had these conversations, and they come true after a couple of years. I would say, hey, we talked about this a couple of years ago. So
yeah,
it's funny about that, but yeah, so this became real and it's growing as it goes. So we're happy to see that grow. And another successful case is this PFCalc. So California code has this regulations for plumbing fixture counts depending on the use and the area, which is you need to go through like a schedule of different values, then do this formula, which is kind of, it's not that it's hard, but it's like tiresome. It's a big task, and it used to take us a lot of time to do this just for a couple of uses within one building. and like it was a big pain point on the team. And someone said I was just dabbling into, this photo is from 2020, I think, because that's my grandma's house where I spent COVID. So it was a big pain. I was just dabbling into Dynamo and Python. So I was, hey, let me check if I can do something for this. And we made it happen. So this is kind of one of the conversations. You can see my face like trying to hack the system, like what's happening there. It's a lot of coding and like math behind the scenes that like, okay, let's just make this happen once. And then, by the way, this code is really old and it's not my best code out there. I've gotten better since that, but it worked. So the end purpose was making it work, making it less painful. And it was also really fun because we had to do a couple of loops within the team. Like at the first, like we thought about making schedules that counted the items, and that didn't really work really well for us. And we ended up with this annotation, generic annotation, which gets fed information from a Dynamo player, where it's showing right now. So here's how the annotation got inputted, and then you play the Dynamo player and put some values from the code, like I have this area, which this occupancy, and then it did the math for you. Which was pretty cool, but codes get updated every 3 years. So this is for code on 2019. So last year we got like a message from the team, hey, this one was pretty good, but it's old. How can we get the new one? And I realized by then that I had hard coded a lot of the math behind it, which newbie on me coding. So we did an improved version. This one is living right now in Python on a pyRevit extension. Kudos to pyRevit. His extension is great for this, for allowing this to happen. Probably this one is already like it was a proof of concept, like we're gonna make it work. And the idea behind this is now getting it into the little helper with C#. But it's working, and it's now a button, and you can choose between code 2019 and 2022, which is great.
That's super interesting. I actually see a toilet paper icon on the toolbar. What's that?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
That's the icon for this right now.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So that's kind of the conversation I wanted to present on how we get collaboration juices going and how that feeds into us getting better in our work and as an industry. I guess think beyond, like I think I mentioned it, but beyond what we do in-house, and we try to also spread through like other companies here nearby or to our clients, and also through networking. Like I love having this type of conversations with you, other people, and being at this type of sessions where information gets shared. I'm pretty active in Twitter for that, because X now, sorry. Because I think a lot of information gets shared. I really love that about the BIM world. Also one of the reasons I think I got really into it. There's a lot of people sharing information, which I think just makes everyone better. I took note from your conversation with Martin Day a couple of sessions ago. He said, it's on another context, but he said data needs to flow like water. And I think if we keep data and information flowing and collaborating on that, it will just make everyone better, and like the industry better, and our world a little better. So why not do it?
Yeah. I also think that, of course, sometimes there's privacy or NDA concerns, but if you have a really cool workflow that someone else would be helpful to someone else, and you can share it, I feel it's almost your duty to do so, or at least I wish it was. Like, I think we're doing that a lot in the industry, but I wish it was even more.
You have a lot of NDAs, so I couldn't share a lot of my projects. So what could I discuss today? And I think I still can share how we work without showing you what we're working on.
Yeah, sure.
But we're working on getting a lot of these products, like we call it products, when it's software, new workflows that we can improve, and we're trying to spread it outside Slantis as much as possible into our clients for sure, and probably in the future we can open it a bit more.
Yeah, there was a pretty good question earlier in the chat from, let me find it, from Min, asking the collaboration here is more inside a firm. How would you approach this for partner firms working with us? So like your different clients, how are you communicating and
Yeah.
maybe teaching or helping
Yeah.
them with
So
training?
I think it's kind of going back to the first point, setting the mood. We do have a lot of different, we work with a lot of different firms from architecture. We have different relationships. So like there's clients who've been working with us since 2019 and like very vividly a lot of projects, and you get to meet a lot of their team and you're working in the same Revit models. So there's a lot of communication going, which makes collaboration easier. And like there's also some other projects where we just coming to improve workflows. So like we do training or we do support, and that's our way to collaborating with them. But it depends on who you're working with. But we try to set the mood on we're here to help you. How can we do it? Maybe it's for training, maybe through just supporting the BIM manager on that company, or maybe it's like, hey, let me jump into your meeting on this project because I know you're having a hard time with, I don't know, curtain walls. Can we help you with that? Or let's set up a template that helps you with that. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something I've been experimenting more and more, and something I've read somewhere is just that, you know, one-on-one private time, it is really time, but when you turn it into content, and content doesn't mean it has to be public on YouTube. Like you can just record. I like using Loom, which, you know, most of my videos I use more complicated editing software. It can take longer, but with Loom it's almost instantaneous, that you can share the video super quickly. So instead of doing private meetings, sometimes I'll record a short Loom and share it so it can be reused later. It can be shared to other people. And depending on the context of the video, maybe it can be used to other firms as well, depending if, of course, assuming there's no confidential information. So that's definitely something I've been experimenting a lot with more recently. And I also think internally, you know, I'm doing that with my clients, but internally, if you have, instead of doing like one-on-one meetings, which is still fine to do, well, you can also record a meeting, or you can, when you teach someone how to do something, record a Loom of it, and then it's content. It can be rewatched infinitely, and you can leverage your time this way.
Yeah, we do have a lot of strategies to, like, we call it the support group. Like beyond our production, we have some support tasks like creating, and we do have like learning Tuesdays. So Tuesday mornings we get up together and talk on specific topics, so everyone can join, and those get recorded, so you can go back to it. And we do have like different strategies on recording meetings, which is pretty good. Sometimes something's really specific, you want, like, you'll jump into one-on-one and just push for that. But yeah, like Notion also helps a lot, like setting the guidelines on the best practices to do this or that. And it lives there. You can hold a video or a link to something, and you set up something that's accessible to everyone.
Yes, I'm curious. So you mentioned that you're using Slack, you're using Notion, you're using Discourse. Anything else that you think like to document or spread knowledge that has been helpful to you?
So Discourse, Notion, Slack are the main free tools for sure. Like Zoom, like or we even do Slack huddles, but as a communication tool. But those are the main ones. We've tried. I think I posted about this. I was trying it. Maru, a coworker of mine, is like really expert on Obsidian, which is kind of a mind map tool, similar to Notion, but it has another way of linking information. I didn't quite get through it a lot. I liked it, but I think it's a big tool, just such as Notion, so it gets a while to get used to it. So
yeah, I'm also trying in-house. Yeah, sometimes I get really excited about new tools, and sometimes I try to be careful. Is that one too many tools I'm using right now? So now I can talk about my stack. I'm using Asana to work with other people as well. I find that communicating by email, sending an email, about the project, giving an information, you just get your inbox inundated.
Yeah.
So when working internally or on some projects, you can describe it on Asana, which is a Kanban board,
Yeah.
and you can describe it for each. Well, Notion has something similar. So and it's just
Yes.
the information, instead of all being in emails, which is hard to organize, it is directly in each card for each separate project. So that has been super helpful for me.
We tested Asana for a couple projects, but I think what ended up happening, we're a very special company, so we just everything needs to be special. So
Yeah.
Asana didn't quite fit to what we needed, so we actually created, the team created we call it the progress tracking, which is a Google Sheets template, which has a lot of different tabs, which do similarly to Asana. Like you can create tasks, who is taking over this task, what's the priority, kind of information on that, and also has another tab for meetings, and like those can connect. So you have the meetings info and communications, what you did just chat with a client, they told you something, and that becomes a task, and everything's connected there. So we use Google Sheets. We are Google based, so we use Google Sheets, and we also sometimes create, depending on the project, what we call a log. So like we have like this meeting. It's kind of a meeting with recap, but also for projects that are more on the longer end and you need to track changes, we will like, okay, this was changed for this reason. So if a couple of years from now someone asks, why did this change? We can go back to it. But like it's not as usual. We adapted that to a specific project, for example. But usually we use the progress tracking tool, which is great. Mm-hmm. And it's also always like constantly being improved. Like it used to be just like you could status it like done in progress, but right now, as I think a month ago, it was a month ago maybe. Paulo like doubled into some coding within the Google Sheets, and he made it that if you're set done, it automatically stamps the date was done, so you could actually have schedule when something like was finished too. So it's constantly improving too.
Mm-hmm. And talk to me about onboarding. Let's say you have new hires. What's the process that they go through to get up to date? Because what I found, that's also, I'm also working with firms. They say, okay, like let's say these people go to basic Revit trainings, either pre-recorded or with a live teacher, but then they have to get accustomed to the way a specific company is working, and that's often when it is challenging. So how do you work with that?
So yeah, and also we work with different firms. So you might start working with one client, and a couple months from that, and that project ends, and you jump into a new client which has different BIM standards or different works of working. So we are really flexible. We need to adapt. So we, firstly on BIM, what I always try to convey to the team is we establish what best practices are, and we adapt from there to different needs. But onboarding right now, I think is 9 days onboarding. I think it is when someone comes into Slantis, and they have a whole introduction.
For the new Slanters, that's the name of
new Slanters. That's the term, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The new Slanters get it in. They have like a 9-day onboarding where they have from the first admin stuff on how to get into the office or what's your locker to everything about. So we're based in Uruguay. Most of us are Uruguayans, or in Argentina and Argentinians, and most of us have never worked for the States before. So it's also getting adapted to architecture in a new language and in a new country with different coding. So that's all part of the onboarding. Also as training in Revit, like people come from different levels of Revit or BIM in general, and we kind of onboard them into how do we do stuff in architecture with the BIM strategies within Slantis, and how that gets adopted into the project. So I think after 9 days or 10 days, they just jump into their first project.
Yeah, because I think most of your clients are in California, so you got to learn the California building code.
Most of our clients are California based. Yes.
I see. Yeah, something that I've started experimenting with when it comes to helping other clients set their own onboarding is creating an exercise project based on this kind of project they're usually making, and by using their template as well. So it's basically you've got to recreate this small building. It may be a small version of the work they typically do, or part of it at least. And then you got to use our template and do the whole steps. And and then you can use some pre-recorded videos to explain part of the workflow. So I think that's really what I've started experimenting with it, and it seems to be working well. And that's part of the onboarding, because I saw way too many firms go to Revit training and now thumbs up, like you're good to go. No, that's not the way it works.
No, we do have we have a rockstar team doing onboardings. I used to be the BIM part of the onboarding tutoring, but I moved from there. There's an awesome team doing that, but we have like a new platform we are using where they have videos and text, and they can link it to Notion, so you also get acquainted with our tools. So here's Notion, this is how it's structured, how you can learn from here. And that's the first usually we get people come in clusters, so no, it's unusual just to get one new hire. We usually have a couple of new hires at the same time, so they usually get into test the onboarding on one project, and they all have to work collaboratively on that too, so they can test and work in that environment too, which is cool.
Totally. Having a glance at the check, we got design tech on Revel, so John Pearson on the show talking about Python and Revit. So saying in-house is nice for starting, is it easy to end up point bin or a Python script and have them run with it, but learning C# is always more fun and more future proof.
I don't know the fun part, John, but I'll take you on that one. I'm still learning, but John is a really good collaborator. John is someone who I always appreciated. He shares a lot of info. And funny one too. So go Dutch.
For sure. Sharing a lot of BIM memes. There's Joseph saying, I've been working on learning it. C# alone isn't bad, but integrating with Revit is quite a bit tougher and almost a full-time job just to learn it. So I'll admit I'm interested in learning how. I know a little bit of Python, but I'm like, that's almost, if I could clone myself, I would and try to learn it. But I have so much going on already that it seems too time consuming to become a programmer, basically.
Python, but it's another area of the job. So if you want to specialize in it, it takes some time to learn it for sure. I did Python on my own just for fun, and I have to get into C# right now. I know it's on the longer terms it will be better, and we have developed on C# and we are developing C#. Just not me. I just help out developing the ideas to get done. But going back to 1 + 1 is not as big as 2, as bigger than 2 is I cannot specialize in everything on BIM, and neither can you. So it's better if we collaborate. We have Sean Pearson to do the great C# tutorials within Dynamo, and I don't have to do that. There's a lot of space to learn on other areas, but I know I can go to him if I need those questions.
I'm curious, did you have more slides, or we went through them all?
No, I think I'm right at the end of it.
Oh, yeah.
So thanks for having me.
All right. We have time for a couple of questions. There was someone asking how often are these live sessions? Is it weekly or monthly? So it is weekly. It's on all Wednesday, typically at 3 p.m., sometimes on rare occasions on the evenings. But it's on season. I don't do it every week of the year. So it's 4, 5, 6, 7 episodes in a row, and a few off-season episodes every once in a while. So I'd be curious to finish if you have, with Revit, do you have any kind of favorite plugins or favorite tools that you cannot live with? I
try almost anything and everything that's accessible to me. So I'll give everything a try. I've noticed for a while there's a couple of different tools that do the same tasks. I love pyRevit because it has a lot of tools within it and also has the option of extensions. of doing my own or like having others extensions to it. Like pyRevit, I think everyone is big on pyRevit. Dieroot's really good too. I really like the sheet gen and view. I don't remember that. The sheet link, sheet gen, and view something. And maybe someone on my team in the chat can tell me. But those ones for duplicating sheets or working with schedules through Excel and importing and exporting back are really good. I had like this project where I had to do like a lot of documentation duplicates, and those were exciting. I mostly use pyRevit extensions, I would say. I really like PyChilizer.
Yeah. Which one are your favorites? Pixelizer. Can you tell us what that does? I've heard that mentioned too recently.
Yeah, that one has a lot of different tools too. So I really
first, sorry, can you explain what is a pyRevit? I think most people know what pyRevit is. It's an amazing plugin. Just Google it and download it.
Yeah.
But can you explain what a pyRevit extension is?
Yes. So pyRevit is like the main add-in. Once you have it, it has the ability to add on more tabs or more ribbons on Revit, which external developers not on the pyRevit team, but I can make my own extension in-house locally on my computer and upload it, or I can share it through GitHub, for example, and people could use it. So you create this extension with a section is actually that. It's an extension of the main feature of pyRevit. So anyone can jump, who codes Python can jump into it and create their own tools with that, which is so cool. If you're just learning coding like Python, I think it's really friendly for first timers. And pyRevit is also really friendly. He has a lot of like pre-set up and the graphics and everything, which is really hard to do as a newbie. He already Xan has created like really easy features to use on that, and like how on inputs and like the pop-ups are really nice. So if you're just getting into coding within architecture, I would certainly recommend doing a pyRevit extension as a first try.
Yeah, also like EF tools from Eric Fritz.
Yeah.
And Eric. Eric messaged me. He's launching a new Learn Revit API course that is mostly focused on Python very soon. So I just wanted to give him a shout out.
I think I'm into his email chains. He's always sending emails on new tools or how to code certain stuff. His tool is also a really cool one. I really like the one. I think he has the one allows you to share a view filter from one view template to another one, which is, if you're duplicating kind of some view filters and you've done it many times, it's really useful. This is small tools that make your life easier, and just like, if I had this one a couple projects ago, I would be happier.
Yeah, for sure. Like just the pattern maker in pyRevit.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't exist? Why doesn't this thing exist sooner in my life?
Yeah. And if for any reason I'm using a computer that's not my own, I don't have an extension, I like people know at the office like, why don't you have this extension? How do you work?
Let's take a last question and then we'll close the show from Mohammed. It's just a comment. Tell us about the future of BIM. Like that's the theme of this season. So I'm just curious, what is your vision or what is your hope or dream for the BIM and AEC industry?
Whoa,
it's a very open question, right?
It's a large question. At the end of it, like we were always joking, I don't care if it's BIM or it's Boom or what's the like the letters behind it. As far as we go, like modeling intelligently and for the purpose of creating better architecture and not just like we want to do things faster, but for the purpose of getting things done better. Like we want to be architects and not documenters, like we were saying earlier. But that should be the end goal. It's not creating tools that are better create tools that are better at documenting on itself, not for the purpose of document. Like let's make architects or engineers' life easier on creative side of it. I like Hyper. For example, it's doing like an amazing job at like creating new ways of thinking how we develop architecture. And I think that's kind of the way we want to go. I don't know if AI will be part of it or not, but just making tools more intuitive, easy, and like identifying my end goal, for example, on my end is like identifying pain points that are common to us all and try to solve those to get better architecture at the end of the day.
I agree. That's cool. A good dream for the industry. So let me wrap up the show.
Yeah.
Quickly. There you go. So the Revit Pure Pro template. Congrats to Eva for winning the raffle. I hope that you've sent an email to claim your prize. I'll check after the live session. Thanks to Enscape for sponsoring the whole season of BIM Pure Live. Really appreciate it. Check them out at enscape3d.com. And let's talk about the next episode. The next episode of BIM Pure Live is next week at the same time at 3 p.m. Eastern. So what date is that? That's October 11. And with Alex Ritivoy, working at 3XN in Denmark. And the show is all about automating Revit with ChatGPT. I saw a post of Alex a few months ago where he showcased how he used ChatGPT to help with some Revit formulas, how to automate some kern wall families, and much more than that, how to help to develop some add-ins. I think it's going to be fascinating. ChatGPT is everywhere, but there's a lot of, not spam, but a lot of people are talking about ChatGPT. But what I've seen from Alex is you learn a lot of really interesting workflows and concrete ways of using it into your daily lives to make it easier when you're working with Revit. So that's next week, talking about the future of BIM. You know, what part is AI going to play? Is ChatGPT part of it? Large language models. Maybe what else do I have to mention? I think that's it. So back to you, Tina. Any final words or message you wanted to spread before we close this?
No, I think thank you for having me. I hope this was fun for everyone as it was for me. I'm glad to join this. I always join on the chat, so happy to be on the other end too.
Yes, so I guess we'll see you again next week back on the chat this time. So that was super fun. Thanks to everybody in the chat, and see you next week with Alex to talk about ChatGPT. Goodbye.